Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone around the world. Thank you very much for joining the webinar today. My name is Ashwin, and I'm a marketing analyst with Zoho Analytics. I'm joining you today from Chennai. First off, I hope you're all staying safe and well during these trying times. As we're all in this together, we thought we should do our bit. And so here we are with the 5 key elements of successful business continuity planning, or BCPs in short. Now, keeping the current situation in mind, we have designed this webinar open up possibilities for organizations to respond to the ongoing business challenges using analytics and insights. So what do we got here? We get started with the crisis response pyramid, and then we move on to discuss the 5 key elements of successful BCPs. I quickly summarize the webinar for you, and then we end the session with an interesting Q&A. All right, the crisis response pyramid. Business continuity planning emerged from disaster recovery planning in the early 1970s. Since then, BCPs have been continuously evolving. The crisis response pyramid, or CRP in short, is a simple framework that captures the various elements of a BCP. At the bottom of the pyramid are the essential elements, or I would rather call them the de facto for handling crisis such as this. And the elements are work from home, adoption of remote tools, data security and availability, communication, upskilling, and a lot more. Now, though these elements by themselves are elaborate topics to discuss, we will not focus on them because you would have heard about them and most of you would have already implemented many of these elements as a part of your BCP. Rather, we will focus on the core and critical aspects of the BCP. Now, as we move up the crisis response pyramid, we have elements to meet the short-term and the mid-term objectives of BCP. So some of the critical elements are cost optimization, receivables recovery, customer retention, vendor management, workforce optimization. Now we have picked the 5 elements as the key elements of successful BCPs. In addition to that, we will also be touching upon a single source of truth for your entire business. Now, the beauty of the CRP is that it's very dynamic, which means based on your business needs and priorities, the elements can be shifted. All right, up next, we will learn how businesses can respond to the ongoing business challenges using analytics and insights, and this gets enabled by a BI platform like Zoho Analytics. A quick introduction on Zoho Analytics for those who are new. We are a self-service business intelligence and analytics platform. We are one of the pioneers in the self-service BI space. Today, we have more than 1.5 million users spread across 180 countries. Some more points about the product. The Zoho Analytics can help you fetch data from more than 250 data sources in the forms of files, feeds, local databases, cloud databases, and also business applications. With that data inside Zoho Analytics, you can visually analyze with more than 1,000 pre-built reports and dashboards. On top of that, you can also build your own reports and dashboards using the simple drag and drop feature, or you can take the help of the ML-powered AI assistant, Zia. Zoho Analytics offers more than 50 visualizations to visually analyze your data. It doesn't end there. You can also share the data with your team members. You can collaborate. You can have them embedded inside your blogs or your websites. All right, with a quick introduction on Zoho Analytics, let's move to the 5 key elements of successful BCPs. The first element on CRP is cost optimization. Well, cost optimization needs no introduction. We keep hearing them time and again. But the question here today is, why is cost optimization a key element in a successful BCP? Well, the first and foremost answer to that question is it keeps your working capital in a healthy state, or probably in a healthy condition. And why is that? I'm sure that we would encounter misses in the top line during a crisis. Cost optimization helps you to compensate for the misses in the top line, thereby contributing towards a better working capital for the business. Also, during a crisis, the business priorities keep shifting. Now, you'll need funds to meet your critical needs, and cost optimization enables that. And finally, it can help you sustain through the crisis. So, my question to you today is, do you cut costs or do you optimize costs? Now, what does that mean and what's the difference? Now, are you trying to slash the highest of all, or are you trying to downsize your team? Or maybe you might want to consider or reconsider your employee welfare, or very common phenomenon across organizations, that's say no to marketing. Now, if these are some of the ways you want to optimize costs, I suggest you to revisit them. Now, let's try and understand how cost optimization can be done using insights with the help of analytics. I hope you can all see my screen. This is the landing page of Zoho Analytics, and this is the workspace that I had created for this demonstration. I have all my analysis here. All right, so like I said, the objective of the webinar is to open up possibilities for businesses to respond to the ongoing crisis using analytics and insights. And to enable that, we have constructed some use cases using Zoho Analytics. Now, we will be demonstrating the significance of insights in making decisions during a crisis, such as this, using analytics. You can very well use them as guidelines for your business. However, I suggest you to correlate these use cases with the metrics relevant for your nature of business. So you may not find the exact metrics here, but you should be able to correlate to your business. So let's get started with cost optimization. The very first question is, should I optimize my cost? Now, it would be nice if you can understand how your revenues are as against your cost. And in this example where I've considered, you can see that the revenues for the months of January and February has been pretty much consistent, whereas for the months of March and April, it has plunged. Whereas the cost remains to be flat for the last 4 months. The gap between your total revenue and the total cost incurred is gradually narrowing, and that is a very clear indication that your cost needs to be optimized. Now, having answered that question, the next question would be, where do I get started? You can probably look at this. I have considered a business with 2 revenue streams, one from the recurring business model and the other one from new business model. So the darker blue patch that you see here is the revenue from the recurring business, and the lighter blue patch or the area that you see here is the revenue from new business. So the black dotted line that you see here is the historic average of the revenue generated from the recurring business, and it stands at 0.8 million. So as you can see, till the end of February, the recurring business has been performing pretty well, whereas from the beginning of March through April, it has taken a plunge. Whereas the revenues from the new business is pretty much flat. It has been consistent over the last 4 months, and the month on month target here is indicated in the red dotted line, and it stands at 0.49 million. So of these two revenue streams, you might want to focus more on the revenues from the recurring business for two reasons. It contributes the highest of the two to your total revenue, and also it has taken a nosedive as compared to your revenue from the new business. So now you got to optimize the cost in the recurring business. To do that, it's good to have a detailed breakup of all the costs associated with your recurring business model. Now, this is the total cost. So let me filter it only for the recurring business. So as you can see, salary holds the lion's share of the cost in the recurring business model. Now, just because it contributes to 53%, does it mean you cut the salaries? Probably you might want to rethink on that. Now, many businesses have adopted a work from home environment. Now, there are some costs which you can slash off because of that. Now, let's say you freeze the campus hirings. Probably your media campaigns may not be as it was earlier. Because of the work from home environment, your transportation costs would have come down, the electricity costs would have come down, the food and expenses would have come down, and also the assets and gadgets would have come down. Now, as you can see, there is a notable difference in what it was and what it is now. It has dropped to 26.03 million. So, this analysis helps you to understand the business impact of each of these cost heads. Now, I'm going to show you the same analysis in a slightly different way. Now, let's assume that most of the businesses have adopted the work from home in the month of April. So I'm setting my timeline from the 1st of April to the 29th of April. I'm visualizing the same in the form of a bar chart. The nature of revenue is only for the recurring business. All right, so I have it here. A sum total of $1.2 million is my total cost incurred for the recurring revenue business. Now, I would like to knock off some of the nature of expenses given the work from an environment. I can knock off the assets and gadgets. I might want to knock off the client visits because it's all moving online. Might knock off the conferences, electricity, food expenses, and then might want to also knock off the publicity, reimbursement, snacks and tea, transportation, and I hit OK. So you can see that there's an upfront saving of close to 0.23 million by knocking off the costs which may not be relevant during this pandemic. So I have taken some metrics and some parameters to understand the cost breakup. Now, depending on the nature of your business, maybe you might be in the manufacturing sector, you might have the inventory costs associated with you, you might have a production cost associated with you. So if you are able to map those metrics or those cost heads here, understand the business impact, that would probably be a better way to optimize your costs. So with analytics, we were able to get to the starting point of your cost optimization journey. We were also able to understand the various cost heads associated with a particular line of business. We could understand and analyze the business impact of various cost heads on business, and thereby we were able to restructure our spends. So with that, we come to the end of cost optimization. Let's look at the next element on the CRP, that's receivables recovery. Well, the picture says it all. Question here is, when will we get the payment? All right, so why is receivables recovery a key element in successful BCPs? The first thing would be cash is the king during a crisis. Now, receivables recovery, it helps you to get more cash into the system as soon as possible. Not just that, the receivables recovery can also help you maintain a healthy working capital. And like I said, the business priorities keep shifting during a crisis, and receivables can help you attend to your immediate needs. And let's not forget your debtors are also a part of this crisis. So possibly there's a high risk of default. So you might want to get that money back as soon as possible. Well, the question to you today is, are you chasing your sales teams? Are you trying to bombard your sales teams with reminders? Are you trying to pursue all your outstandings? And is this becoming a more number driven activity rather than an insights driven activity? Well, if these are some of the things on the back of your minds, probably it's time to relook at them. Now, let's try and understand how receivables recovery can be done using insights with the help of analytics. As far as receivables recovery is concerned, what is it that you want? You need insights to guide your key account managers on the accounts where they'll need to focus to get payments as soon as possible. So you'll need that kind of data or input to give to your key account managers. Probably you might want to prioritize your accounts and tell them that these are the ones they'll have to look at immediately. This would be priority 2 and this set would be priority 3. Now, to get to that, let's first try and attempt one of the ways where you try tagging the industries in which you operate. The first thing what you might want to do is pull out all your accounts and try mapping them to the respective industries. Now, using a heat map, I have been able to tag these industries as flat, meaning industries which were not highly impacted by the pandemic but are performing pretty flat. The second bucket is good, where these industries are probably performing during this pandemic. And the third category of industries are those which have got impacted. Now, in here, you might want to focus more on those industries which are performing good during this crisis. Well, as a business, depending on your financial needs, you might want to take some considerations on your accounts which operate in the flat and impacted zone. You might probably want to give them a moratorium period, or probably you might want to offer some discounts or maybe extend your subscriptions. And that is purely dependent on your business, and it's a business call that needs to be made. All right, now with this chart in place, where do you get started? Probably you might want to get started with the highest outstanding industry in the performing set of industries, and that would probably be the healthcare industry. So now let's see who are the accounts in this healthcare industry. So what you see here on the screen is a detailed breakdown of all the accounts in the healthcare industry. Well, is this sufficient for your key account managers to get started? Probably not. So what kind of insights can you build? Now, you can sit with your finance team and try and understand how these payment histories were, which means how each of these accounts have made their payments in the past. Now, by doing that, you might want to categorize or bucket them into 3 or 4 buckets. And for this example, I have taken accounts where they have been historically paying in less than 20 days, accounts which have been paying between 21 to 29, and then 30 to 39, and anything above 40 as the 4th bucket. Now, as a key account manager, you might want to look at those accounts which have a payment history of more than 40 days, because that's a pretty long time for your business during a crisis. So you can easily filter those accounts and you have them right here. Probably you may not want to look at these accounts where they have been paying historically in less than 20 days, because in any case, you're likely sure that you can get these payments in less than 20 days. So you can advise your key account managers to look at this bucket. And here you can probably start looking at the highest outstanding amount. And also, what's more important is the receivables also depends on the relationship that you maintain with your accounts. So if your business relationships are good, probably you might want to get started there to make sure that the payments come in time. So we just saw how the entire activity has moved out from just a number driven activity to an insights driven activity. And this data can also be pushed into your CRM systems where the key account managers can be empowered to start working on their receivables. So, how with analytics we were able to segregate our receivables, and then we were also able to analyze these accounts based on their historic payment dates. Also, we were able to pinpoint on the areas or the accounts to focus to ensure quick receivables. And then we were also able to guide the organizations in taking some strategic decisions on those accounts which fall into the industries which are impacted during this crisis. And finally, it doesn't end there. You can also build accountability on your key account managers and give them a very clear way forward using analytics. Well, that brings the end of the second element. Now let's look at the third element on the CRP, that's customer retention. Well, customer retention is all about trying to retain your existing customers. Well, the question here is, why is customer retention a key aspect of your BCP? Well, it's said that it's easier and less expensive to retain customers than to look out for new customers. A study conducted by Bain and Company suggested that a marginal increase of 5% in your customer retention could reflect from anywhere between 25 to 95% in increase in profits. Well, these numbers probably may not hold good during a crisis, but the study is pretty much convincing to say that the customer retention does have an impact on your profits. Well, I'm sure you would all agree with me that there is lesser scope for new business, so it's better to have or retain your existing customers, and you can earn your revenues through retention revenue. And if you are a multi-product or a multi-service organization, there is certainly scope to cross-sell your products or services, or you can also upsell your products or services. And finally, once the business environment normal or maybe even during a crisis, these customers can turn out to be powerful advocates for your brands, for your products, and also for your services. So, in that context, my question to you here is, how are you trying to retain your customers? Is it the usual way of getting started with your unhappy customers? Are you trying to go all out to pacify your unhappy customers? Or are you more keen on closing the tickets? Well, if customer happiness is where you want to get started, probably I think you should keenly watch and see how analytics and insights can re strategize your entire customer retention strategies. Switching back to Zoho Analytics. So, just like happiness rating, there are a lot other parameters to assess your product. Now, I have taken two such parameters, and the first one being, yes, the happiness rating or the happiness index. And the second parameter to assess the situation is the downgrades. Let's go one by one. The green dotted line that stands at 94% is your happiness rating target. And this business that you see here has been pretty much consistently achieving those numbers. And as in the month of January, it stands at 93%. In the month of February, it stands at 94. Once again, it's 93 in March, and it has touched 96 in the month of April. So this gives a clear indication that your customers are pretty much happy with your product and happy with the kind of service that you give them. On top of that, you can also analyze other parameters such as the average hours spent by customers within your product and a lot more, and that purely depends on your business. Why do I say that customer happiness ratings are not the only parameters to assess customer retention? Now, a customer could have possibly given you a bad rating because the demo did not go well. Maybe there was a problem with the infrastructure and the entire demo setup collapsed. So that could have been a reason for giving you a bad rating. So, though happiness rating is important, it may not be the only reason to understand customer retention. So, let's look beyond happiness rating and see and try and analyze what is the key to retain your customers. Now, analyzing the downgrades trend over the last 4 months, you can see that the downgrades are picking up from March and it has touched a high of 152 in the month of April, whereas your average downgrades has been only 70. Today you stand more than double at 152. Now you might further want to probe why the downgrades are happening. Certainly it's not because your customers are unhappy, but it's something beyond that. So that's where you try and drill down into your downgrades for the month of April and see how the downgrades have been for the plans that you offer. Now, I've taken the example of a SaaS business, and the business offers three plans. That's the basic, premium, and standard. But this analysis that you see on the screen clearly shows that the downgrades are high for customers in the basic and standard plans. The basic plan has breached beyond the average downgrades, and the standard plan is fast approaching the average downgrades. So these customers are happy, but still the downgrades are happening. Now, what is the insight that you derive from this analysis? As you can see, premium customers are able to retain their accounts, they're able to stick on to your product, whereas the basic and standard customers are moving out from your product. The basic and standard plans are starter plans, and it's usually picked up by smaller organizations. Now, there is a possibility, or maybe there could be a possibility, where these small businesses might be going through a financial crisis due to the pandemic. So, you might want to customize your offerings for the basic and standard plans to help those smaller businesses sustain through the crisis and retain them within your product. So you might probably want to give them waivers or extend your subscriptions. And like I said, it's purely a business call depending on the nature of your business. And as per the advice of your finance team and the senior management, you might want to roll out plans to support these businesses during a crisis. We just saw how using analytics, you were able to analyze your customers across different parameters. And yes, we were able to precisely pinpoint on the key to retention. We took a paradigm shift from the conventional happiness ratings to further understanding the reasons behind the downgrades. And we got to understand that that could be possibly because of a financial crunch that these smaller businesses could be going through during a crisis. We were also able to give some insights to enable organizations to take strategic decisions to help these smaller businesses come out well during this crisis. And all said and done, nothing can replace human touch. No data, no insights, no analysis can do that. All right, so that brings us to the end of customer retention. And let's now focus on the fourth element on the CRP, that's vendor management. Well, as an organization, be it big or small, be it a small business or an enterprise business, you would have worked with a lot of vendors. The number of vendors and the type of vendors could be different, but you would have got associated with many vendors. Now, the question here is, why is vendor management key aspect of your BCP? All said and done, your vendors are a key component in your supply chain, and the failure of a vendor could possibly destabilize a part of your business. Vendor management is also critical during a crisis so that you can align the vendor to your immediate business needs. And if you're able to relate it to the first element, that's cost optimization, we spoke of optimizing your cash flows, and vendor management is definitely one of the areas to look at to optimize your cash flows. Well, having said that, my question to you here today is, are purchase orders, or POs in short, directing your business? What do I mean by that? Well, are you looking to cancel all your high value purchase orders? So, does that mean your business activities get aligned to the low value purchase orders? Is it that you're going to service only those requirements? Are you going to align your business activities to the low value purchase orders? Or is it that you're trying to cancel all your purchase orders? Or you might also want to consider deferring all your payments, which could possibly hurt your relationship with the vendor in a longer run. Well, if purchase orders are directing your businesses today, I suggest you to revisit them. Now, let's try and understand how analytics and insights can get you a better approach towards vendor management. As a starting point, probably you might want to understand how your purchase orders are distributed across the departments. Now, I've taken a business with five major departments contributing towards purchase orders. Your business might have more, or your businesses might have less. So, having a holistic view of the purchase order distribution across departments could possibly be a starting point, but is definitely not the end. As you can see here, this business has the marketing department contributing to almost 47% of the purchase orders by value. Now, by looking at this report, would you jump to a conclusion that the marketing purchase orders need to be either cancelled or deferred? Probably not. You might need something more beyond that to get you powerful insights to make decisions during a crisis. So, one of the other ways of looking at this is going a step further and trying to break down these purchase orders as critical, highly critical, and non critical, and having them mapped against the respective departments. Now, as businesses, you should be encouraging and empowering your team members to know what is critical, what is highly critical, and what is non critical, even before a crisis sets in, so that it becomes very useful to understand which are the POs you'll need to focus on during a crisis. As a business, you decide that the highly critical purchase orders are the ones that you want to focus to get started. So you choose only the highly critical purchase orders. And when you say OK, you can see that the focus has shifted from marketing to finance. Well, at this juncture, you might probably want to understand what are the purchase orders is so highly critical in the finance department. This could be an opportunity for you to initiate a discussion with the finance teams to understand those purchase orders, and A, you might want to execute them, or B, you might also want to reprioritize them, which means you might want to retag them as critical or orders. Now, on top of that, there are a set of purchase orders which fall into the non-critical category, and there in the non-critical category, you might want to try and see what best you can work with the vendor in terms of the payment days, in terms of the credit days, or the delivery schedules, or whatever be that. So with analytics, we were able to get deeper understanding of the purchase orders. We could categorize and prioritize the purchase orders, and depending on the priority, we were able to give insights to the businesses to take some strategic decisions in terms of, say, deferring or negotiating, or maybe reprioritizing your purchase orders. I'm sure this is a better way to manage your vendors during a crisis. Well, we move on to the last and the final section on the CRP, that's the workforce optimization. Well, yes, it's definitely a challenging task to strike the right balance among your workforce, but people have stood by you to build the businesses to what they are today, and it is very important to take care of them at the time of a crisis. So, a good leader like you would always want to strike the right balance among your workforce. So, why is it a critical component? All said and done, it could be your lion's share of cost, and during a crisis, productivity is the silver bullet. And yes, layoffs can hurt you in the long run. Well, the question to you is layoff the way forward? Well, are you trying to sensitize your workforce to anxiety? And if you're pruning your team, who are you doing and why are you doing and how are you doing it? Or maybe you're considering to put a hold on the hiring. So if you're considering any of these, I suggest you to revisit them. Now, let's try and understand how workforce optimization can be enabled in three steps using insights and analytics. The first question is, should my workforce be optimized? Now, let's take an example. Here in this report, you have the revenue for three different products, product A, B, and C, for the last 4 months. It's very clear that product A is having a flat but a steady growth and a nominal drop in the last 2 months. Product B has nosedived from February 2020 through April 2020, the trend line indicated in blue, whereas product C is steadily picking up in the last 4 months. From a revenue of 1.7 million in January, it has clocked 3.05 in the month of April. Now, if you are able to relate this to your receivables recovery, product C might fall into the category of those industries which are performing now during this crisis. So, this is quite compelling to say that yes, product C needs more attention. Yes, it needs more people to support the growth of product C. The next question is, how do you do that? How do you facilitate? Well, that is where you get into understanding the performances of your team members. I have broken down the average tasks attended by a technical staff in product A, product B, and product C for the last 4 months. The average task per technical staff historically stands at 40, and you can see that product A is somewhere close to the average. Whereas product B has taken a beating, and in the month of April, the average number of tasks handled by a tech staff stands at 27, which is way below your average of 40. Now, analyzing product C, you can see a steady increase in the tasks handled by a tech team from 40 to 80. It's doubled in the last 4 months. Now, that needs attention. So, as a first step in workforce optimization, you might want to consider reshuffling your team. That is, you can empower some team members in product B to take up additional responsibilities to support product C as well. Not just that, you can also try considering relocating them from product B to product C depending on the situation of your business and product B. Well, that would probably be a step one in workforce optimization. In case you realize that the members in product B do not possess the right kind of skill sets that are required to support in product C, or if you feel that it's going to take some time, or the reasons could be anything else, then probably you might want to consider step two in workforce optimization, and that's nothing but cutting the flabs. Now, as a good leader, instead of penalizing a group of people within your team, you might want to distribute the impact of the crisis throughout the team, thereby dousing it at an individual level. Now, what do I mean by that? You can try cutting the flabs, which means you can try and cutting out those experiments which you're doing now, which may not be too relevant for your business, and it may not be the need of the hour too. You can also consider cutting down your working hours. And that is one of the other ways of optimizing your workflow. Having done all that, in case you feel you're not achieved your objective, probably you might want to do the last and final step in the workforce optimization. That's all about pruning your team further. So with analytics, we were able to understand the entire concept of workforce optimization in three stages. Stage one is reshuffling, rebalancing your workforce, or pruning your workforce. We also saw how these three stages can be enabled using analytics. And yes, what you just saw is all about tracking the performance of your team, which is very critical during a crisis. And also, it builds accountability into the system. I did mention to you that we will talk on one of the other aspects, that's a single source of truth. Now, during a crisis, time, data, and insights are very crucial, and it's always nice to have one single place where you can track all these metrics related to your BCP. Well, that is where we are talking about trying to reduce your time to insights, trying to enable you to make some quicker decisions, smarter decisions, and also immediately respond to your business needs. Now I'm going to switch to Zoho Analytics to show you an analytics dashboard that can help you do all this right from one place. So the BCP executive dashboard is that one place where you can have an holistic view of your BCP related metrics. You can very closely track them from here. You have the KPIs docked here in the form of widgets, and you have all the reports that we have just discussed here in this one single dashboard. So, like I said, your time to insights gets drastically reduced. You don't have to keep scouting for information or insights. You have them all here within a single dashboard. Now, you can also add more reports which are very specific to your business, and you can have them all here within a single dashboard. So, with that, let me quickly summarize the webinar for you. We got started with the CRP, or the Crisis Response Pyramid. We spoke of the 5 key elements of successful BCPs. That's cost optimization, receivables recovery, customer retention, vendor management, and workforce optimization. From the cost optimization point of view, we understood how analytics helps you get started with your cost optimization journey. The analysis helps you understand the various cost heads, analyze the business impacts, and then finally restructure your spends. As far as the receivables recoveries are concerned, you were able to appropriately segregate your receivables, analyze payment histories, identify the areas to focus, and give the right inputs for identifying the accounts which needs immediate attention. And finally, at a team level, you can build accountability and a way forward for your key account managers. Customer retention, a very important aspect of BCP, where you were able to analyze customers across different parameters. We were also able to strike the key to retention. We also were getting insights on taking some strategic decisions. And yes, like I said, nothing can replace human touch. On the vendor management aspect, get deeper into your purchase orders, try and categorize them and prioritize them, and make some strategic decisions using these insights, where such as trying to get the best out of your purchase order on your non-critical purchase orders. On the highly critical and the critical purchase orders, you might want to reprioritize them, or if you feel they are in line with your business needs, probably you should get going. And finally, we spoke of the most important element, that's workforce optimization. Using analytics, we were able to take this 3 stages of workforce optimization. The first one being reshuffling your resources, followed by rebalancing your activities, and finally pruning your teams. We also saw how analytics enables you to achieve these three stages of optimization, workforce optimization. You were also able to track your performances, which is very important during a crisis. And then finally, we were able to build accountability at a team level. Now, the key to constructing a good BCP lies in insights, and a strong analytical platform is not a solution to all your problems, but is definitely an enabler to finding solutions. I would like to repeat that a strong analytics platform is not a solution to all your problems, but is definitely an enabler to finding solutions. Now, great tools help you make great decisions during a BCP. Now, consolidating data from different sources can help you perform a better analysis, and that gives you more powerful insights, enabling businesses to make better decisions with from the business point of view. Now, BCPs can certainly be made better using analytics and insights. On the screen are the different sources from where you can get data into Zoho Analytics. It could be as simple as a worksheet to business applications, can be your marketing platforms, can be your customer support applications, can be sales applications like CRM or your finance application. You can all have them all inside one powerful BI application to perform analysis to get deeper insights for better business decisions during a crisis. All right, folks. So, with that, we are closing the webinar session. And now we are moving to the interesting part. That's the couple of things. This webinar is being recorded, and you will get a copy of this recording. And with us today is Silas, a good colleague of mine, and he will be assisting us in this Q&A session. I hand it over to Silas.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. It was a great presentation. I hope I'm audible, right?
Hello, Silas. Hi, Silas. Yeah, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So thanks for having me here, Ashwin, and that was a great presentation. So let's open up the floor for the Q&A session. So to start with, first I got a question from Sandra that is it possible to build a ROI for analytics projects? Okay, so it is possible to do this, Sandra, but we need ample information. I mean, the required data from the different sources to do the ROI analysis. So it could be, if you're referring to Zoho projects integration, or it could be any project management tool that you have. And of course, we need to have the spending information and as well as the budget, or maybe whatever the actual budget that you have planned and so on. So something based on that, if we have the required data in your source, definitely we can calculate the ROI on top of it. So it depends upon your data source. So I think that answers your question. So let me go ahead and answer a few more questions. Okay, I got another question about the analysis in terms of visualization. So when we are talking about, okay, all right. So what are all the different visualizations and how flexible it is to use in Zoho Analytics? That's one of the questions that been asked. Zoho Analytics offers a very simple drag and drop interface, and also we offers the powerful AI assistant to build the reports, where you can just type what you want in the natural language and the reports will be built automatically on top of it. So all you need to do is connect your different data sources and bring in all the data in Zoho Analytics. And as long as you have a logical relationship between your data set, definitely you can create a lookup relationship between the data set, and then and if you know the column names pretty well, or I could say the field names very well, then you can go ahead and use the AI assistant by typing in what you want, and the report will be built automatically. And of course, one point to add that we offer 40 plus different visualizations. So based on your preference, the way that you prefer to understand your data, you can go ahead and create different types of visualizations in Zoho Analytics. And I got next question from Sandra again, that what alternate is used to convince the CEO to invest in a project with analytics? I think, given your, maybe I need to understand your requirement to answer this question, Sandra. So, Zoho Analytics is, I could say it's an analytics tool which works on a self-service mode. So anybody can step in and easily use this product. So considering this crisis time, obviously you may have a hefty volume of data recorded in your system. So each and every transactions or in different granularity of data would have been stored in your system in different departmental level, like sales, marketing, and so on. Now, definitely you need to use those data. Of course, you may need to cleanse it, accumulate, consolidate everything together to do analysis on top of it. So this might be the right time for you to use your data and get insight out of it and make your decision. Make your decision on your business and then move appropriately based on the insights that you get. In that way, Zoho Analytics is super easy to use. It's very simple and works on a self-service mode.
Just to add to Silas's answer, Sandra, probably you can try looking at the metrics that are very specific for that business that you want to convince your CEO for. And you can use a tool such as Zoho Analytics to analyze those metrics and and give a realistic picture of what the possible outcomes could be for the project, and that could possibly be one of the ways to try and convince the CEO to invest in the project. Now, at a CEO level, they might be looking at the ROI, yeah, like you've posted in your first question, and then they might be looking at the other aspects, let's say the longevity of the business, or across all departments. So you might want to pick those key metrics and see how you can give a clear picture of the way forward of that particular project, and that could be a way to try and convince the CEO to invest in that project.
Thanks, Ashwin. Thanks for adding your perspective, your points. I think one last question from another user that how much this tool is easy to use. Of course, as I mentioned in my last answer, Zoho Analytics works in a self-service mode, so it works without any IT help. So as long as you have a proper data set from your different data source, definitely you can bring in all the data sources, consolidate together, blend your data, and most of the process would have been automated. Like in terms of once you bring in data from different data sources, it will automatically suggest, it will identify the relationship between the data sources, and it will suggest whether you want to connect these data sources and so on. So once you connect that, we have some auto analysis option on top of it. So we will provide a lot of pre-built report for on top of any data set. Particularly in terms of the business apps integration, we have a whole lot of pre-built analytics on top of it. And then you can use the AI assistant to build the reports with simple, just type what you want, a search-driven report model. So just type what you want and the report will be built. And consolidate everything in a one dashboard with KPI indicators. So it's as important as a cockpit view for a pilot. So having one dashboard and drive your business is very important. All right. So with that, I think we can end the Q&A session. So thank you so much for joining with us. Please stay safe and take care of yourself and everyone around you. With that, let me hand over the session to Ashwin for the closing note. Thank you.
Thank you, Silas, for the interesting Q&A session. All right, folks, with that, we come to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. You can always write to us on support@zoanalytics.com. You might as well want to explore the product and see how the BCP metrics work for your business. You can log on to zoho.com/analytics to try that. And just one more thing is that once you exit this webinar, you have a very simple feedback form. I request you to share your feedback, and that's going to be of help in the upcoming webinars. Thank you very much once again, and stay safe. Have a wonderful day ahead.